behalf of the Illinois Manufacturers Association, there are nearly 4,000 member companies and facilities across the state. We appreciate the opportunity to address a topic that is critical to the success of the Illinois economy, our business tax structure. I am here. Greg Bay sends his regrets. He is doing his civic duty at the courthouse on 26th in California as a juror as we speak right now.
Good place for him.
We appreciate it does not have a traffic ticket, let the record reflect. We appreciate the opportunity to offer testimony about how Illinois can address long-term solutions on the need to give employers the best opportunities to create and retain jobs. We applaud the effort because, as Jerry just said, the tax system is a key component, and certainly the recent income tax increase eliminated what we believe was a competitive advantage that Illinois enjoyed, which was a flat rate that was relatively low compared to other states across the country. Today, Illinois businesses pay about $27 billion combined in state and local taxes, which represents more than 5% of our state's GDP. By comparison, according to the State Council on Taxation, our rank is 5th highest nationally, exceeds our neighboring states, Ohio, which is 4.5%, Indiana 4%, Missouri 4.3%. As Jerry said, and I'll be brief, businesses prefer a stable and predictable tax climate. As I was preparing for this, talked to a tax director at one of my companies who said our tax climate recently has been more unpredictable than Charlie Sheen. He said, we've seen an income tax increase, a proposed gross receipts tax, an attempt this year to repeal every tax incentive, proposed changes to the franchise tax, the expiration of the research and development tax credit. We're close to seeing the end of the enterprise zones. Department of Revenue is 3 years behind paying corporate income tax refunds. We face an $80 billion liability in pensions and about a $6 billion short-term operating deficit. Combined, these actions send a very chilling message to the business community and discourage economic activity and investment. One of the points we'd like to say is, first of all, increasing the tax burden, whether it be through higher tax rate or the elimination of economic development incentives, will harm the business climate. The Governor and General Assembly took a big step this year in trying to rein in state spending. We applaud that. We hope you'll continue that over the next several years so that the income tax increases will go away at the end of 4 years, if not sooner. But it's going to take decisive action on your part to make sure that that occurs. Illinois can maintain a certainty by, we believe, permanently extending tax policies, things like enterprise zones, the research and development, and other incentives. Today, Illinois communities, economic development directors are able to only offer enterprise zone benefits, for example, for 2 years, 3 years, maybe 5 years. Other states have these economic benefits that are good for life, and so we're at a competitive disadvantage. The General Assembly also just extended the film tax credit for 10 years, but the research and development tax credit went away. We have 450 corporate R&D facilities in the state of Illinois. Manufacturing, which employs 600,000 people and 13% of the state's GDP, the single largest share, uses about 70% of the R&D credit to make products, encourages innovation. So we believe that the R&D credit should be extended. We'd like a permanent extension and certainly a carry forward. The General Assembly returns to Springfield every year and has the opportunity at its pleasure to review these programs to see if they're working. Another provision that we think would make sense for the business community is when we set public policy through tax provisions, we then impose rules or regulations on them that prohibit them from being implemented. When we extended the R&D tax credit for 1 year, a year or so ago, we failed to enact a carry-forward provision. This means that companies that are able to conduct R&D activities are not able to actually use the R&D credit if they have limited or no income. We believe, just like the film credit was directed earlier, that credit should be allowed to be carried forward, made refundable, or offered for sale. Another big issue that's important not only for businesses but consumers, utility taxes. We have very high utility taxes. We're extremely different than many of our other states that don't have utility taxes or offer benefits, incentives for businesses. We believe reducing or eliminating utility taxes will save consumers and businesses tens of millions of dollars that can be reinvested. I would also like to remind some folks that use the word tax loophole, these are incentives. I would point out the Comptroller does a very good report on tax expenditures, that the top 5 tax expenditures that equate to about $4 billion are all offered to individual income taxpayers. I would just like to point out, and finally, and address the single sales factor, and I think Director Hamer went over it pretty well, but I don't think he gave the full picture. He talked about a company in Illinois, 75% of their sales are here, they're taxed at 75%. He said if the company moves to Indiana, they're also taxed if 75% of their sales are in Illinois, they're taxed 75%. However, the company, if we get rid of single sales, the company in Illinois would then pay tax on payroll and property that if the company moved to Indiana, they would not pay. That is a benefit. We were one of the first states to do it. It has been a huge boon to keeping companies in Illinois.